I think it's hard to enter the present moment because sometimes we can't believe that other people, especially the ones in that meeting, I can only imagine if this is a wedding discussion, is that you probably have assumed that this people will understand you and loves you and knows you and like respect your decisions. But obviously they also have strong opinions themselves, which they're human, they're entitled to. Do you want to stay grounded, less triggered, less annoyed, and mindful throughout your wedding process? Well, then, welcome. You've come to the right place. Hi, lovelies. Welcome back to our channel, and I'm super excited to introduce to you a brand new series, The Little Book of Mindful Wedding Planning, Ebook Walkthrough. I have linked the ebook in the description below where you can grab your own copy. In this series, we'll explore and dive deep into each chapter. So, if you're getting married or is close to someone who is getting married, or is just altogether into mindfulness, then this series is for you. Join us every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays as we journey through the little book of mindful wedding planning, chapter by chapter. Before we get on this week's chapter, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you can never miss an episode. Together, we'll create moments of mindfulness amidst the demands of wedding planning. Hey lovelies, welcome back. And yes, we are now on chapter 10, Enter the Present Moment. Let me read on. Even when the moment is beyond shitty, we have to enter it. The resistance that we have towards accepting what is happening now is where the stress is. If the moment is your in-laws are having an argument and it's becoming heated, enter that moment and be with it. It's hard and tricky, but the more you deny and resist what's happening, the longer the stress is, and the less likely you'll come up with conflict resolution ideas. This is not to say that you should just accept it when people mistreat you, but accept that this is happening and detach from the emotions you're feeling. Tricky, right? It's essentially facing difficult emotions and staying still while in the storm. Until now, I still have a hard time getting into the moment, but I think awareness and just knowing your triggers, like knowing what you're getting into. Obviously, we can't prepare ourselves for everything that we're going to get into. Sometimes something comes up and we kind of just have to ride the wave because it's already there. We just have to be present and be just like, okay, this is what's happening. So what I've been doing now is if something comes up, I really just like, okay, this is really happening. This is happening. This is the thing that I'm going to have to deal with. This is the moment right now, but I'm being asked, I'm being interrogated. I'm in the middle of a heated argument, whether I am the main person involved or not. I am still in that scene. I am still in that. I mean, if it's about your wedding, you're definitely most likely involved in it. And it's part of you because you're still a decision maker in your wedding, obviously, unless given different circumstance. But more often than not, you are a decision maker in your wedding. And so being involved in that situation, whatever that looks like, a heated argument, someone is just disagreeing, someone has a different take on things, someone has a different opinion, that happens. And understanding what triggers you, going back to a lot of the chapters that we've had, like what is your North Star? Is this serving your North Star? As much as it's hard to know what you're going to get into, we still have a level of awareness and knowing, okay, I'm going to go drop by, say, for example, at my friend's house, and it's going to be a bridal party meeting. I know that so-and-so is going to be there, and so-and-so might bring up this and this based from the past. Now, I'm not going to assume that it's always going to happen, but there is a chance. Okay, we still have to come into this moment, this meeting, this exchange, this situation with an open mind. You can't just assume that someone, just because they said something before, will say something again. However, there is a chance. So knowing what you know from that person, from that situation that have happened before, how can you better prepare getting into that moment? How can you better prepare your mind, your body, your soul, your vibe going into that moment? What does that look like for you? Does that mean, hey guys, I can only stay here for an hour? Or hey guys, why don't we prepare some talking points and have an agenda before we go into the meeting? That way you can have something that you can go back to. If something gets derailed or if something is getting blown out of proportion, it doesn't happen like this. Although, sometimes people can go from 0 to 60 so quickly. But for the most part, it's like a gradual, like, okay, there's a disagreement. Just be aware of that. Okay, there's a disagreement. Go back to the agenda that you set for that meeting. Okay, well, on my agenda, it says here that A, B, C, D, E, F, whatever it is that is on your agenda. You go back to that. So having something that you can go back to and refer to helps manage the situation. Now, can people be helped? Sometimes if people are angry, they can't, right? Like, again, I mentioned this before, that people can only meet you at the level of emotional regulation that they've had. So even if you want to repair something, even if you want to dissipate the tension, even if you want to just calm everybody down, there's only so much you can do at your level. Because if that person just don't have the emotional regulation to go back from 60 to 0, obviously that doesn't happen right away, but it will take some time. But as an adult, I can imagine that we should be able to handle that. Like, I got heated. Okay, let me take a quick break. Let's reconvene when we're all calm. Or take a quick break, have a drink, order something to eat, have a snack, whatever that looks like. Just a little bit of a distance in there and space so that you can calm yourself down, however that looks like for you. Breathing, drinking water, having a snack, just things that as an adult, we should already have ways on how to help ourselves calm down. But again, if other people don't have that skill, if other people have not discovered those things yet, you just can't control them. And this is where your boundaries come in. Because at this point, you're like, okay, it seems like we're not really being productive at this point. I mean, even when we say those things, I don't want to put anybody in a defensive situation and be just like, what do you mean? Well, it's my fault. No, it's just the situation itself, right? I just want everyone to be heard and seen. I want this to be a fun and memorable event, but obviously with how things are, I don't think that's where we're going. And I love everybody that's involved right now. I love you all. So I want everybody to be at their best. I want everybody to experience this joyfully. And right now, I think it's best for all of us to take a break because we love each other. I even now when I do that, I always affirm, I always make sure that they know that this situation, whatever it is, a heated argument, a disagreement, it's not because we don't love each other. It's just because something is hard. It's just because something is different. It's just because we are facing a very intense discussion that everybody feels so strongly about. Doesn't mean you're a bad person, doesn't mean I don't love you. But right now, let's take a quick break because probably all of us have a point. All of us are right. So let's just take a break and then reconvene when we're ready. However that looks like for you. Maybe, again, have dinner first and talk about it later, or maybe reschedule for another day and have a better agenda of like what to talk about, or maybe talk about things through email first and have everybody kind of just like an idea dump. Because I feel like sometimes in big meetings, most people have a lot of ideas, and when they don't feel heard and seen, they just feel like, why am I even here? I'm not being heard. I don't feel included. But if you give them a chance over email or over text, email is always better, to, hey, this is what we're talking about. You want to go through your opinions and like ideas, and then that way we can talk about it and I can bring it up when we meet over dinner. Again, you can only prepare so much. Obviously, I know you have good intentions of you want everyone to be calm and be heard, but you can only control so much. So set up a boundary, set up a time limit, set up agendas. That way, when you enter that moment and something comes up, a heated thing comes up, a trigger comes up, something is triggered, someone was triggered. I don't know how that came about, but hey, again, 0 to 60 so quickly. We don't know how to manage that right away because we can only manage ourselves. So if you have an agenda, you go back to that. But the first thing that we have to do is enter that moment and say, okay, this is happening. What's happening right now is that so-and-so have a big opinion about something. This person have big feelings about this. And I also have big feelings about this. That doesn't mean my feeling is wrong. I think it's hard to enter the present moment because sometimes we can't believe that other people, especially the ones in that meeting, I can only imagine if this is a wedding discussion, is that you probably have assumed that this people will understand you and loves you and knows you and like respect your decisions. But obviously they also have strong opinions themselves, which they're human, they're entitled to. So enter that moment in your head. I'm like, okay, these people, I love them. They love me. This is just right now a hard discussion. That has nothing to do with the love that we have for each other. That has nothing to do with how I hope we respect each other. But this moment is what's happening right now. I'll do my best. I'll enter it. I'll do my best to diffuse the tension, to manage the tension, to manage the stress, to manage the disagreement, to manage this heated argument. But I also know that I have boundaries that maybe give it another 10 minutes or sometimes you also know when someone is about to blow up, like,
you know, Super Saiyan, next level, like, Hadouken.
Like all this power is coming out, right? You know when that's going to happen. So you kind of manage that and see where that's going. Before it gets there, just enter the moment and be just like, listen, I think this is what's happening. And it takes a lot of maturity because at this point too, our ego is probably bruised, right? Someone said something, I'm like, I can't believe you said that.
Excuse me? What do you mean?
Right? So at this point, egos are bruised, we're triggered. We probably don't feel heard, don't feel respected. And those have validity, like those are valid. But it doesn't necessarily mean that all of that is true. I just keep repeating this. We're entering the situation doesn't mean you're gonna have to accept disrespect. It just means that this is a hard moment. Let me read on. What we're saying here is the argument and possibly the yelling is not even about you. It's just presented during a topic about your wedding. It's other people's reaction to their own dysregulation and communication styles, which sometimes are not helpful, but that's on them. Try and take the moment to a brighter and lighter place by staying calm and just taking it all in. This means that you might need to cease for that moment. Respectfully opt out of the conversation, create space and distance, and come back to that with better understanding and headspace. Now, after the heated moment has passed and you are cooled down, send a text or email with regards to the situation. This will show you're still in control of the narrative and remind them that this is, after all, still your wedding. You can present options on how to resolve the problem and set that limit. It can sound something like, here are the options that will help us move forward positively and gives us all a chance to enjoy and be part of the wedding. And stick to those options. Don't let them keep asking you to add more. Stand up for yourself without being passive aggressive. This is so juicy. Honestly, the number of situations that I've been in where, and I feel like I am guilty too, where I can just like, you know what, if I could have just listened at that moment, I feel like things could have been solved so much easier, so much faster. Hurting words,
them fighting words
will not have been said. At that moment, if we think that the stress and overwhelm is about the other person, sometimes it really isn't. I mean, sure, they're annoying, but the stress and the overwhelm is because we're resisting that it's happening. Like, I can't believe. I say that all the time. Like, I can't believe that person just came up to me randomly and said it to me. Those I can't believe moments are actually extra stress that we don't need. Okay, well, that person clearly has something going on for them. Like, I don't know. I don't even think it's about me. Like, it just so happened that you're there and the situation presented itself. But sometimes a lot of those things is not even about you. If it were to be another discussion, that might still be the case for them. But it just so happened at that moment, it was your wedding that they were talking about. But it's sometimes surface level things is not really surface level things, obviously. It might not even be about your wedding. It might be about something they've experienced before that it's just coming up now and just like bubbling up to the surface. And this is a good situation to bring this up. So I'll let it out. Enter the present moment by focusing on the problem. It also gets more complicated when there's character assassination. Like, well, you've always been like this. You're just so annoying. You're just so lazy. You're just so close-minded. When we label things and people, that just makes it so much harder to solve it. It just makes it harder to enter that moment. Again, earlier when I mentioned the assumption, if we go in assuming that this person is just always going to be close-minded, I am not even going to get into that. There's a point to that though, because sometimes that's true. But there's a reason why that person is in this moment with you. So we're going to have to reshuffle that a little bit. And at that moment, it might not be that you're always going to be open to that person. But in that moment, in that wedding discussion, in that situation, that person is there for a reason. Whether you've invited them, they're part of your life, whatever the case may be, they're there for a reason. So what we're going to do is we're just going to let that happen. We're going to open up ourselves and be just like, you know what? This person has a tendency to be XYZ. I knew that. I'm not going to assume that that's going to happen again, but there's a higher chance. And if there's 90% chance of rain, 80, even 50% chance of rain, what are you going to do? You're going to bring an umbrella. In this case, your umbrella is that, okay, it's going to rain. Once you have that umbrella, you feel ready. Once you have that umbrella, whether it rains or not, you know you're prepared. And when you get into that conversation, you feel a little bit at ease because, well, that might happen, that might not happen, that might happen. Either way, I'm good. Either way, this is my wedding. Either way, I will make the final decision. Either way, my say, my opinion is important because, again, this is my wedding. I mean, I respect everybody, but this is my wedding. This is your wedding. I also always feel like people are always doing their best at that point. Again, I feel like I mentioned this before where people meet you at the level that they've met themselves. If that is their best at that moment and that is their whole understanding in that moment, we're going to have to, unfortunately and fortunately, receive it. Because, of course, sometimes people won't see what you see and how you understand things because you probably, relating to the wedding, you've done so much research. You know your budget, you know what you're dealing with, you know your emotions. Of course, other people might not be able to see it the way that you see it. And so going into any situation with that understanding, you can be present because I'm just like, yeah, well, I know. This is the present moment. They don't understand it. But my present moment is that I know a lot of the things behind the scenes. I know and I understand my situation and they might not get it. And that's fine. It's hard. It's super hard to just be open to people just telling you that you're wrong or telling you that it doesn't make sense. But it doesn't have to make sense to them. And it doesn't have to make sense to you. This is a discussion. At the end of the day, whatever happens, it's your wedding. So enter that present moment and sit with it. Don't attach any relationship to it. Don't attach your self-worth to that situation. Don't doubt yourself because of that situation. You know how people like sometimes you're just like, oh, that's such a stupid idea. That doesn't make sense. When you enter the present moment, it doesn't mean you engage. You just enter it. Okay, this is happening. You entered the moment, which is funny enough because you entered the moment by distancing yourself to it. Because if you're into it, like obviously, if you're inside the bottle, you can't read the label. So you step back, you enter the moment, seemingly an oxymoron. You enter the moment by stepping back, right? You say, okay, this is what's happening. Okay, there's an argument happening. Okay, someone's getting angry. I don't have to be defensive. I don't have to call out people. I don't have to name call. I don't have to drop passive aggressive comments. I don't have to come up with strong opinions about something, even if I have strong opinions about it, because it's not going to serve the situation. Right now, my goal is that I want these people in front of me to be part of my wedding. And I love them as much as they love me, but this is an argument. So let's take a step back, okay? take a break, set the boundary, and be just like, okay, let's focus on this. Because sometimes we get derailed, and that's when things get harder. Again, no name calling, no character defamation, no passive aggressive comments. Those things are what's going to make things so much harder. And funny enough, if you do all that, you probably have a less likely chance of solving the real problem. And at that time, that even if you solve the problem, once them fighting words are out, they're out. Once them fighting words, them hurtful words are said, it's hard to take them back. And who would want to say things that they don't mean? There's only so much you can control. And this is why with any meeting or any discussion where you think there's going to be an exchange of strong emotions, of strong opinions, you and your partner should have a united front. So again, this goes back to prep. Like, how do we set a limit? How do we filter things? What is our signal? What is our safe word? How do we observe? Like, what are the signals? What are the signs that we're going to get into a heated and possibly hurtful discussion? And how do we navigate that? So again, going back earlier, we're creating a plan, an agenda, a boundary, a strategy, a safe word, a safe space. You and your partner should discuss that and how that looks like for you. Because that way, once everything is happening, you can enter the moment and be just like, yep, this is happening. And you and your partner can just look each other in the eye and be just like, yeah, I know. And your partner be just like, I know. And then you start moving. However hard, I think we should all practice getting into the moment, just entering the moment. This is what's happening. We're not attaching to it. We're not judging it. It's just we're observing the moment as it's happened. Be kind to yourself and to others, of course, but know when to walk away. Know when to set that boundary, again, kindly, respectfully. I feel like when people say, you gotta walk away, and it always sounds like, from the movie, you just like throw something and just like slam the door and walk away. That's not always how it looks like. You can craft an exit strategy. Guys, honestly, I love you all. I'm going to send you links for things that you can look at. Maybe that can help you look at things better. But of course, I love you guys and you love me. I know that. We don't have to get into this moment. We don't have to say all these hurtful words. Why don't we take a break and let's talk again when we're ready? Because this wedding is important to us and you're important to us. We all deserve a break. We all deserve to be happy in this moment. Let's give ourselves a break and let's talk about it later. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Little Book of Mindful Wedding Planning series. Your comments, questions, and support mean the world to us. And I can't wait to hear from you in the comments section below. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you can never miss an episode. If you found today's episode valuable, please give it a thumbs up so it can reach more people. Thank you so much, lovelies. See you on the next episode. Bye!